Hey, this is Von here for Surge Gaming. Um, this is the first of a set of videos I'm going to be doing. Video tutorials and guides for the game Europa Universalis III. This first one is just an introduction to the game's user interface. Very quick one. I did a much longer one earlier, but yeah, I realised it stretched on for a very, very long time. And yeah, it would take me several days to upload that to YouTube and be very boring, I think, for you guys. So I'm sorry if it's really quick and brief, but I will be doing more guides into the individual aspects themselves in much more detail later on. So I hope you enjoy, and here it is. Okay, well, let's start off with the resources and assets we have at the top of the screen here. First off, we've got manpower, which is basically an accumulation of the population in your country that's available to fight or turn into soldiers to fight. It goes down as you create regiments and returns back up over time. Next along, we got stability. Stability is a measurement of how stable your country is. Can be a maximum of +3 or a minimum of -3. Goes up and down depending on what you do with your country, basically. You want to try and keep it as high as possible, because it can have some really nasty effects if it goes down. Next one, ducats, which is the currency of the game. We have several figures here. If you look, we have our total number at the top there, 191.5. Then we have our balance per month, which is currently -3.7. That means we're losing -3.7. The next one is our end of each year sort of gain, which is 115. And then at the very end, we've got the net gain, which is basically the sum of our yearly gain minus or plus our monthly income, so -70.8. It's important that you maintain that above 0 all times. Not so important about this first number here. The most important number is the last one there. Make sure that is above 0. Next we have prestige, which is a measurement of how prestigious your country is, how cool you are. This can be a maximum of 100 or a minimum of -100, and gives pretty awesome effects actually if you get up pretty high. This is gained through acting in certain ways through events, or winning battles, or winning wars. In fact, it's the best way of getting it. This base value here in the middle, where it says yearly decay, 5% is what it is. And basically that means that, say you had 100 prestige, you'll be losing 5% of that a year as the yearly decay. Likewise, if you had -100 prestige, you'll be gaining 5% prestige every year until you hit 0. So basically, just bringing it back towards 0. Next we've got infamy, which is a measurement of how evil or bad your country is. You get this by taking over land unjustly or destroying other people's countries. If this gets too high, then your people begin to hate you, and you can have all sorts of revolts, problems, and other countries will attack you if it's too high as well, and fail to trust you in diplomatic relations. And the last one there, we've got yearly legitimacy, which is a measurement of how legitimate your monarch is. This can go up and down depending on various factors, but this is what makes having a monarch really good. If it's really high, then you get some pretty nice benefits, as you can see there. Makes your country much more stable. Likewise, if it's really low, down to 0 is the minimum, you can get some pretty nasty effects from that, which I'll come on to later. So that's the our sort of main resources there. Okay, then further along here we have our assets, which is various government officials that we use for different things. We've got merchants, colonists, diplomats, missionaries, spies, magistrates, and they're all used for different things. I'll come on to them later because we don't really need to discuss them right now. And obviously at the end here we have the date, which moves on over time, and here where you can adjust the game speed. Down in the bottom here we have, you can see the minimap, and above it we have different overlays for our map. Now these can be very useful. Currently we're in terrain map mode, which means we can view the terrain. You can see mountains and valleys and areas. We can change that to political map mode, which shows each individual country, which is very useful for us. There's also other ones such as religious map mode, imperial, trade, diplomatic, not sure what that one is actually, region map mode, cultural, sphere of influence, revolt, and colonial, which we don't really need at the moment. But the main ones here are political and terrain. The hotkeys for these, political is W, and Q is terrain map mode. I don't need to worry about any of this stuff at the moment. I'll come on to that later. Let's move on to the next important part. The overview tab. If you click your shield in the top left here, which displays your current country flag, it basically brings up this panel which allows you to see and change most things about your country. We've got various tabs here which I'll just explain to you briefly. This first one here is just an overview of your country. We have a list of our international relations with every country in the world, our prestige, our rank among nations, our religion, and all the information you could ever need to know about your country here. Who we're at war with, who we're allied with, various things like that. Next one on the list, we have the court. This shows our king, his stats, and his heir if we have one, which don't have one at the moment, and the heir stats as well. And down here we have our advisors, which we don't have any of at the moment. Then we have the economy tab. This left hand sort of scroll here shows all of our financial information that we really need to know, totaled up. We have our monthly incomes, our monthly expenses, and how they're broken apart. And then of course we have the balance down here, which is per month. This is not net, this is just what we're losing per month, or gaining per month. Maintenances, I'll get onto that later. Take loans, not recommended obviously, but if you need to, it's there. And here we have our investments on the right hand side. Top few here are technology. Technology level is displayed here, which is 3s at the moment. And then we have stability for investing in stability, and our treasury slider for increasing our currency and how much we have of it. Okay, and also when we're in a war we can raise war taxes. Next tab, military. This shows an overview of our armed forces basically. We have on the right hand side a list of how many of each type of unit we have. Down the bottom we have maintenances for Army and Navy, and here we can select different units that we want to use. Next tab on the list, religion. This shows our current religion, a list of all our religious decisions, some of which can allow us to change religion, but for the most part it's basically enhancing our religion and the laws regarding it. We have tolerances here. This is our faith, other faiths within the same religious group, and other faiths that aren't within our religious group, such as the Muslim religion, and various things like that. Next we have government. Displayed here is our current form of government. If we click that we can change our government. Here it's displayed our national ideas, which we don't have any of, and our government policies, which we can change once every sort of 10 to 15 years, and you can see their effects by holding your cursor over each side there. Next tab on the list is our Leaders tab, and this allows us to recruit generals, admirals, conquistadors and explorers, which we can't get yet. They're used for exploring terrain, but we'll get onto that later on in the game. And obviously we can convert our leader into a general if we really need to. We just click these buttons to recruit them, and we can see their stats down there as well. And at the top here we have an accumulation of our tradition, which I'll explain later. Next tab, Cultural tab. This shows our cultural tradition, allows us to make advisors available that we can't currently recruit by using our cultural tradition. And down the bottom here we have our cultural decisions. Hovering over an envelope which is green would show us the effects of that decision. The green also means that we are able to pass that decision. Question mark shows us what is required for us to be able to pass that. Next we have our mission at the top here, which is displayed here. We have like a brief description there, the effects that would happen to us if we manage to do it, and if we hover our cursor over the question mark once again, it shows us what needs to be true in order for that mission to be completed. And down the bottom here we have our national decisions, which is all sorts of things that affect our nation as a whole. And once again you can hover your cursor over to see what the effects are and what the requirements are of doing that. Okay, let's move on to provinces. Each country in EU3 is divided into provinces, or in fact most countries are in real life as well. I'm sure the country where you live in is either divided into provinces, states if you live in the US, or perhaps counties if you live in the UK. Each one of these you can see is separated with the lines. As we zoom out they disappear to give us a more aesthetic view of the country, but as we zoom back in they come back. We'll just click on one of those and that brings up the provincial decision or panel. This allows us to see what buildings are built here on the left hand side. We can also build buildings by clicking these pictures as they become available through our technology. Unique buildings down here, manufactories, and on the right hand side here is displayed all the information we need to know about that particular province. It's trade centre here, this will take us to the nearest trade centre. The religion obviously, the garrison. To create new regiments from a province, we click this button here and we have a list of all the regiments we can make. Likewise, if you want to hire mercenaries you can do so with that button there. Yep. Okay, I'll just show you a few little things that you might want to know. In order to move your armies around, we just click on the army, right click where we want to go, and you can see as the arrow lights up that shows the army's progress of its movement. We can do the same with navies. We've got one docked here, move them out into the ocean. In order to load units onto a boat, we need to have the ships out in the ocean, and then we just simply click with the army, right click onto the boat, and again you can see their progress there. Okay, well that was a very basic overview of some of the main aspects of EU3. I'm going to go into more detail of these in other videos as we go on, but that's just a brief explanation of what everything is, and yeah, I'll go on into more detail with other videos.